my name is Giancarlo Brunei. I'm an industrial engineer turned into self-taught developer / data scientist. So yeah, I had a non-traditional background, definitely engineering mindset, but yeah, I came across coding and fell in love with it. The way I came into programming was quite unusual because I had a product idea that I wanted to develop and I didn't know how to code. So I signed up to hackathons with some friends, and at the beginning I was serving coffee to them because I didn't know how to code, and then I gradually picked over HTML and some of the languages, and we were able to ship products at hackathons. So it was a fairly weird or unusual experience, but as I developed, I kind of realized that programming intersected with anything that I wanted to do in life, in the sense that to create products, nowadays most of them have to do with technology, and technology is a good enabler of scale and speed and doing things in a, let's say, disruptive way. I continued on that journey, but I would say the area of specialization that I picked was data science, right? So it wasn't front end or back end or anything particularly from the core components of computer science, but it was more a niche area in which I thought my expertise was relevant, let's say, as an engineer, and where I liked the higher order maths and all the things that were being developed with those algorithms. But as I continued to basically work in that industry, and later as well as an actual machine learning engineer at the corporate, it became very apparent to me that despite knowing one part of the stack, which was, let's say, data science, plus I could do a little bit of a front end, a little bit of back end for like a minimalistic website, most of the products that we had to ship on a daily basis had a heavy full stack component, right? Like it wasn't just, I think what it clicked for me was like JavaScript, right? Like I think for the longest time I was trying to get away with like, oh, okay, well, we have this thing, let me ship it on Python and maybe like Streamlit, so then I'm gonna use Django. But then like, it was like, no, like websites are built in JavaScript. So you just have to learn JavaScript, you have to pick it up. And I think it became apparent to me that it was better to go all in, right? And say, okay, like let's learn it the right way. Let's learn it from someone that has been in the industry and has taught this, rather than what I can pick back and forth from tutorials. Are all like, there's a lot of boot camps that sugarcoat things, like I've actually been to a boot camp before where like my first contact with let's say this kind of course was like, oh, we're gonna learn Ruby, here's this framework, use this, don't ask questions, like this is how this works, and oh wow, you have a website, right? And then what happened at the end of it was like, oh, okay, like I want to modify this thing for myself, oh, this doesn't work, like this breaks, right? And then you're kind of like notched into, oh well, now you're a developer, so you should fix it, right? And I think that's okay, but in a way I felt like it was maybe like a little bit of sugarcoating, where you have to delve into the actual problems of things and how they work. And I think that Arol doesn't shy away from that, right? So that was what I really appreciated of the course. First of all, like it's a hard process, right? So if you wanna do it in that short period of time, you definitely have to apply yourself to it, right? Like it doesn't help just coming here and showing up and saying, hey, I've been here from 9 to 8, like and Saturdays from 9 to 4. So where's my diploma? Where is my certificate? I think the certificate is you getting a real job and being able to work in the real world. So the reality is that being in an environment where people have high standards for themselves and their peers helps you kind of like push yourself an extra mile. I shared this mentality with Arol, and it was also like part of why I thought this was going to be the perfect home for me. But when you have a question, you have someone there that's there for you. When you have another student, and you can also sense that the other people are human and are struggling with you. And then as you're growing and as you're getting better, everyone is getting better, and I think that's a nice feeling. It's challenging, right? But once you're able to kind of like ride through that, you are, and like I remember, like I think the pre-course work, right? It was like, well, I don't want to spoil it, but it was like writing a library, right, of some library that is available on JavaScript, and this could be a working package for someone else to use, right? And then and I was able to write that. So I think that that's compelling, and the same happens with websites, right? Like the fact that we're using a stack that is, let's say, up to date or even like ahead of what most companies are using, does give me like the safety of saying, okay, I'll have a job, because if it's not in Node.js, I'll pick up whatever Next.js. I'll pick up whatever framework is kind of like equivalent, figure out what are the differences and the tricks, and then I can apply myself to that, right? So it's, yeah, I think it works. And then also, of course, like being able to ship an actual website and verifying that yourself, like, oh, this is code that I wrote, it's on the cloud, it's functioning, people can interact with it. It's definitely like, I think, yeah, from there on, like get your job or continue doing your project and move forward. But there's definitely the confidence that if I'm put in another environment, I can replicate that process. I think it's not that much about what previous skills you have, even though it's obvious that if you've coded before, like I did, you have a level of advantage because of the familiarity of languages or the way the code syntax is structured. But if you just want to do a course for the sake of getting a tick or a certificate, you're going to suffer because it's very intense. But if you are looking to actually do a career change and get into programming and have that be your main source of income, whether it's like through a job or through starting your own project, yes, I think it's the perfect place to be.